to further discuss this hot-button issue, we're now being joined by ONYEKACHI Adekoya from our Abuja studio. Adekoya is a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Industrial Security. Welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tudo, and thank you for having me.
Well,
good morning, Doctor.
Good morning. Well, ONYEKACHI, you are also the Provost Marshal of Licensed Private Security Practitioners of Nigeria. And the President has been saying that, look, this is a collective responsibility. And when he visited Borno State a few days ago, he was commending the vigilante groups, the JTF, the community persons, the private persons who have been contributing to this battle of making Nigeria safe and making our schools in particular safe. Now, what do you think licensed private security practitioners can do? Or what suggestions, does your group have in terms of how we can ramp up the security level in Nigeria in terms of protecting the people?
Absolutely. There's a lot that licensed private companies can do. Firstly, I think the issues at hand now and the issues bothering Nigeria are more of a national issue. So every hand that you can get on the table is needed at this time. For us in private practice, we protect about 90% of Nigeria's GDP. We have operatives in every local government in this country. We have people working even in places like Ngala. Even as we speak, we have operatives in the thick of the action. But again, as you know, issues around security are limited exclusively to the federal government and what the federal government can do. So in terms of what we bring to the table, knowledge, addressing security from a business-like perspective, because what we see in Nigeria is more of a parochial approach to the issue of security. Incidentally, situations on ground are forcing us to change, but the pace of our change to the conditions of ground are rather slow. So what we're saying is that government needs to collaborate more because there seems to be more knowledge in the private side when it comes to crisis management and building resilience than you have on the government side. So every hand should be at the table. I think that's where we really can, play a bit more with the state actors in terms of raising the level of conversations we're having. Again, tweaking the approach that government takes to some of these issues and understanding importantly that, companies, persons can only provide security within the context of security that government provides. So you see, there must be a proper handshake. I think that's where I would like to leave it at. And our association has been at the forefront of pushing for more collaboration, between the private actors. For example, we employ almost about 1.5 million to 2.5 million Nigerians in security. So if you take the private actors as force multiplier across this country to what the state actors are doing.
ONYEKACHI, on that note, we need to take a short commercial break. We'll take a short commercial break and we'll come back to you. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. We're still with ONYEKACHI Adekoya, a security expert. Now, ONYEKACHI, Governor Zulum has been saying recently that Maiduguri is a lot safer because of the help of vigilantes. So it's quite obvious that collaboration works. Why do you feel that your industry has not been fully exploited as it ought to be?
Very good question, Tuno. And I just want to agree with the governor that it's true that Maiduguri is a lot safer than it used to be. On a lighter note, the real estate sector is growing in Maiduguri. It's probably a good place to invest. So it's a lot more better than it used to be. And the conditions on ground have changed. Now, as to why the security industry has not fully developed, I think there's a lack of understanding, really, of what the sector really can do and the full reach of the sector. But that is changing gradually because we've had a number of engagements with the NSA. The Minister of Interior is currently doing a lot with the NSCDC to see that, we can unlock the potentials of the private industry in Nigeria. Now, beyond the private static guarding, there's an aspect of risk management consulting, which is yet evolving. And, in the field of risk management consulting, anticipation is everything. So you use crime data, crime statistics to map areas and look at incident trends and then propose mitigation measures. So that space is still being explored. But, ultimately where the private industry will get to would be the growth of the defense sector. If you look at Nigeria, the defense industry is solely being powered by DICON. We have some players like the likes of Proforce, and maybe Innocent is now going into provision of armored vehicles. But if you go back to 1986, there was a time when Nigeria was providing and producing aircrafts, the ABT aircrafts. We produced at one time over 60 aircrafts. It was projected then that if we had continued on that trajectory, perhaps Nigeria will have been a major net exporter of at least aviation systems. So there's a lot of catch-up that has to be done, and I think that that's why we have slowed down a bit. Again, you cannot rule out the fact that we've been coming out from a long history of military rule, and the sentiments towards other forces. Even the Navy suffered under military rule, the Air Force suffered under military rule. So by extension, the private sector has taken a bit of a hit, but there's a lot of potential, and I hope that we can come out of that period very quickly, and efforts and engagement is currently going on to ensure that these whole issues of gap, because the issue of security deals with the issue of spaces and places, so we can use the private sector to fill in certain spaces within the economy, thereby freeing up the government forces to deal with the issues of external security, state security, while you then, have private hands that are regulated by the federal government. So we are already like an extension of federal agencies. So again, conversations are going on. It's not yet Uhuru, so we keep engaging. So let me just leave it at that.
All right, my very good friend, good to see you again. But the on the light side, the joke you made was quite sensitive, because the reason why real estate prices are going up in Maiduguri is because of a lot of dollar money coming in by the NGOs to make the place habitable for people that are reeling from insurgent attacks, really. I mean, that's one of the foundational reasons for that. But going to this quickly, the role of technology can't be overemphasized, and the role of private guards can be overemphasized. And I'm not just saying private guards carrying weapons and adding to the boots on the ground. When will that happen? Because take, for instance, how I wish the school in Kebbi was manned by a couple of armed private guards. Maybe they could give a buffer even to the police and add to that.
Yeah, Rufai, you've asked a very good question, but on a lighter note still, let me come back to the issue of Maiduguri. Yes, there's private dollars flowing into Maiduguri, but also don't rule out the role that the INGOs are playing in propping up the economy, the local economy of Maiduguri. Without the INGOs in the northeast, we would have had a bigger problem than we have currently. So I see some efforts to demonize the INGOs. Yes, some of them have certain issues, like Kabiruddin said the other day. It's an issue of monitoring and supervision. Government should play its part in monitoring these NGOs to ensure that they are doing what they are supposed to be doing. Now, in terms of arming private guards, firstly, let's look at the legality of it. Licensed private companies are already federal companies, as it were, because for you to be a licensed private company, you must have a federal license. So all we just need to do is to push the needle a bit, push this envelope a bit, add the arming components, set certain criteria for it, and, let's have the private armed guards. For example, some VIPs go about with 20 policemen. The man has policemen for himself, for his family, for his kids. And, if the man were to pay from his private pocket, that could free up 20 policemen in a place like, say, Birnin Yauri, for example. What happened in the place? You had police provision, but police provision was not adequate. So you see, security, we talk about insecurity, we talk about concentric approach to security. You can have physical security provisions within a location, but what happens to the outer environment? You can't turn a school into a barracks. In any case, military installations are being attacked. So there's a general state of insecurity, and we must all think outside the box, in trying to solve some of these issues. I dare say that about 25% of the general security forces in Nigeria are designated to protecting private persons. If these private persons could pay, that would do two things. It will free up the forces, it will create employment for other Nigerians, and that way, we can be growing an industry here. So as to when that will happen, we've not yet fully come out of the cloak of military rule. The military persons have changed to Agbada, but they are still within the corridors of power. So we do hope that within the next 5 to 10 years, this will become a reality. We move it beyond discussions. Well,
ONYEKACHI, as we try to wrap this up in the remaining 1 minute, do you really think that the private security guards have the capacity in terms of training, in terms of equipment, to be able to do what you are asking for, getting involved in assisting the state to address the challenge of banditry and terrorism?
Absolutely, Dr. Abati. Let me just share this with Nigerians. For you to own and operate a licensed private company in Nigeria, on your board, you must have retired service persons. So these persons come with the experience. They come with a level of background check which the government has done on them. So in terms of having the expertise and know-how, if we aggregate the aggregate years of experience in private parties, it's quite enormous. Now, in private practice, it's a business environment. You have to either deliver service or you lose the contract. Within the government and state actors, it's not like that. What is the consequence of bad behavior or failure of security? What happens to the CP? What happens to the IG if something happens which will have been forestalled? So we have a different service orientation. And I think that in the issue of addressing national security, a service orientation must be brought to the table. Security must be seen as an enabler of economic prosperity and development. We rightly say that without security, you cannot have economic development. So in terms of training and equipment and the manpower, I've said already we have the manpower. So it's just if government creates the standards and creates a curriculum, very quickly we can set up these training centers, and have whatever the requirements are to ensure that we move in. So absolutely, Dr. Abati, is something I do believe that Nigeria must give serious consideration to. So we are ready for it if the government is ready.
Well, thank you very much, ONYEKACHI, and I hope that the relevant departments of government are listening to you. Thank you very much for joining us.